Hey, welcome.
Hi, it's great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
No problem.
Yeah. Hopefully it's gonna be a nice time talking about choices. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Yep. Yeah. So just to introduce you, so as you know, Hazel, the host of the Simp Show on Apple Podcasts, Apple, the listening platform and other listening audio podcast listening platforms. So you can hear her podcast, Apple, the Simp Show, where she talks about choices and other stuff. And so we're going to talk about choices today. And I'll be linking that below in the comment section. I'll be pinning it. And also, I think you also do this. This reading fanfics, and these are super awesome on YouTube. I'll also be linking that. I found the story super awesome. Thanks for that.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know you were into that. Cool.
Yeah,
Thanks.
I I specifically like the short one about the Christmas. I forgot mistletoe something.
Oh
It's been
yeah, mistletoe with Tamaki. Yeah, no, that was really fun to record. My mic was giving up on me in that episode though, so the amount of retakes he had to do because he just heard this loud in the background because of the mic. Yeah.
yeah, I totally get that. The
Mm,
background is always a problem if you don't have a studio. Then
exactly. No, I just have like this small tiny mic and I record in my closet, so it's that's the best I can do.
I totally get that. I
Yeah.
totally get that. Yeah.
All right. So you wanted to talk about what was it, Queen Bee?
Yeah, definitely. But before we get to that, I would definitely like to know a few things about choices. So, just can you tell me how you got into choices? Because this is really exciting. Like, how did you start playing choices?
So I think I started playing Choices like January 2018 or something like that, and I was bored. It was like 2 a.m. and I just thought, why the hell not? And then I just sort of, I think I started with the Royal Romance, like got about like finished like book two, and then sort of started expanding on that, and like I kept on playing till about maybe the end of 2020. I sort of fell out of love with it, and then I sort of come back into it recently. So it's been more or less, I've really enjoyed it. It's been really fun sort of seeing how it's changed. Personally, I prefer what it's been like, earlier on, whereas like now you've got some slightly more interesting stories being released. So personally, I prefer the older era of choices, but we're open to new things here. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah, you're right. The old days, a lot of awesome books choices released when it first came out. I was not there. I started playing from 2019 October, I guess. So High School Story. Still, the book was one of
mm,
the first books choices released, and it was awesome. So yeah.
definitely. I really like High School Story mainly because, well, obviously I am in high school myself, and as well as for the Class Act series because I'm a theatre kid as well. So it's just really fun to sort of see how you can sort of slot yourself in those sort of positions. Whereas reading something like The Nanny Affair is a lot more difficult to picture.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And also, those stories are more interesting because in high school or like America's Most Eligible, you have lots of like competition and stuff. So it's just not limited to one thing, but you are doing everything sort of there.
Yeah, you do it yourself, and it's not like there's just a specific storyline. And something like Queen Bee or America's Most Eligible, where you can sort of pick what path you want to go down. That's really what the word choices means, which is what those stories make the app choices.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with that. So, what's your favorite book in choices? Though I know it could be Save the Date, but other than that, few favorite books. If I say to pick.
Oh, okay. So obviously, save the date for Justin, my beloved, obviously. But I really am a big fan of Crown and the Flame, mainly just because it's just so with the whole different character you can change between them, which was quite interesting. I think they do something similar in Endless Summer, but it's just really fun to sort of play around with that. Sort of being a fan of Crown and the Flame, I was also really keen on the idea of Blades of Light and Shadow. That was it sounds like such a cliche answer, but it's great. I really enjoy that. Well, it's currently only a standalone, but I'm going to enjoy it when it comes out. Well, at least the second book, anyways. I think. in terms of like anything that's not fantasy genre, I mean, Save the Date, obviously, but yeah, High School Story classic, that like really resonates with me, mainly because I'm a theatre kid myself. And I also really enjoyed America's Most Eligible because, you know, you have that element of competition and it's, you don't really know what's going to happen. So it's really fun to sort of see.
Yeah, that's right. I have a question. So, between the original High School Story series and High School Story Class Act, which one do you like the most?
So, um, I prefer, in terms of, because I can't remember the name of the other school in High School Story Classic for the life of me, but I really preferred, you know, in terms of the rivalries between different schools, I really preferred like that dynamic in the first half of the series.
Yeah,
Um, However, in terms of characters, I prefer them much more in Class X because I remember reading the first, you know, the first section, if you like, and the only character I was really that fond of was Michael. And then, you know, then in the second half, I was a big fan of everybody, like even like the side characters, which weren't love interests. They were just really resonated with me. So that's always been really fun. And then, as I've said before, being a theatre kid myself, you know, it's much more realistic to place myself in there rather than being, oh, by the way, I'm in the band. You know, it's like it's something that really it's just really interesting to sort of see what you can picture yourself in.
wow, so you're in the band. Well, that's awesome. So I need to ask this. So the the way they depict some stuff about high school. So you were in like you said you're in the band. So how much that's like the reality, and how much like just fancy stuff they represent there in the stories.
Honestly, they've really like sometimes they've just really exaggerated how like mean students can be. Like, for example, at least where I go to school, like there are mean people there, that's for sure. But then there aren't like, you know, setting fire to the other people. Like sometimes it feels intensely exaggerated what they do. I think also in terms of what they can do in lessons, such as like I don't know, the whole theatre academy thing, you know, just like going on like this tour thing to London. Obviously, I live in London, but that's not the point. You know, it's something that I don't think any other school would do. So I think sometimes quite it's quite clear that sometimes it's not a real thing. But you know, I think they've done a pretty good job with like making characters not just like one-sided. However, with like some like meaner characters like Brian, maybe
Yeah.
he really only has that one sort of mean demeanor as far as I can remember, and he doesn't really have any sort of development, which I think. I mean, all characters that are mean usually have their own reasons, and it would be more interesting to sort of see that, unless I'm just completely missing something, which I might do. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree that Brian, I think the only character because other villainous characters I remember, I don't remember the Max and Max's girlfriend. They were
Mm.
also evil, but at the end they sort of reach, to some, the agreement. Even with the main character, they shake hands at the final day of high school when they were going out. But Brian doesn't do much. So yeah, Brian was like only one sided, like you said, like the evil character.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, to have very like it's very if you have a character like Brian who's very just depicted as being a sort of evil character, it's much easier to sort of understand who you're not supposed to like and who you are supposed to like. However, you know, obviously, you want to also like the villain in order to like the story. So I feel like they should have maybe have done a bit more work with him, and then they could have sorted that out a bit more.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, like I said, High School Story is it's a great story to read in choices. And one last question that I would really like to ask you that the way they depict the school dances, namely prom and homecoming. I don't think in England you have prom and homecoming, but like, do you have any school dances? And what do you think about the depiction they show in this books, specifically in high school?
So yeah, you said correctly. We don't have those in England, but um, I feel like they make them, at least in the series, it make them, from what I understand, anyways, they make them seem a lot more over romanticized in the series, whereas in real life it's sort of not as much. I feel like in real life there's much more restrictions placed around what you do, and I don't think everyone gets invited to a hotel after their prom or anything like that, you know? So I feel like it's just them trying to do that. You know, speaking of those scenes after prom, you know, it's like it's a good way to sort of wrap it up and it gets people what they want, but they are children. So it's like it is a bit strange at times. But you know, with the whole idea of adding those dances in, they feel honestly, they feel a bit repetitive at this point because like they've had a couple of sort of stories set in school now, and all the time they have them in all of them, and then there's like a massive twist that happens in there, and then the rival school comes in or whatever. So it's quite dramatic as well. Like nothing really happens. Like in reality, I have a friend who does go to a school with a prom. They just like stay there for maybe 3 hours. They're not really allowed to dance with anyone too personal. They just sort of have to awkwardly sidestep with each other. So I feel like they obviously make it the nicest way possible. They don't want to make it seem awkward in the book. However, obviously for somebody who has been there, it would be a bit, whoa, I wish mine was like that, if you catch my drift.
Yeah, definitely. Even if someone hasn't gone in one of the proms, they'll be like, "Wow, I wish I was there." Yeah,
exactly. And it sets people's expectations a bit too high if they were to go to one soon. So,
Yeah, yeah. It's better to read it after, or maybe if you don't have it at all, because if you read it before going to an actual prom, your expectations are gonna be pretty much you're like wish.
Oh, your mic cut out. I don't know if it was. Are we good? Can you hear me? Okay, good. You just cut out.
Yeah, I can hear you for yeah, the connection kind of buffered for a second.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Sorry, what did you say? Because I didn't really catch that last part.
Back. So where were we?
You were saying something about like you should probably read them before if you like hadn't if you don't have them or yeah.
I was just saying that. Yep. Exactly. But yeah, High School Story, it's a pretty good story, In the old days they released also, it was a really good story. And I hope, like you said, a lot of stories are set in high
school or college, in
thing. Yep. But I hope like they can come up with a sequel or something like where high school characters go to college and we can get the drama. Maybe it's impossible, but it would be super nice if they do something like that.
It would be nice to revisit them, yeah, definitely. If they sort of, at least maybe it could just be like a special to see how they're doing in life, like if they're
the characters, what they're doing now.
I don't think I would read another series with them just because we've had a lot of screen time with them already. But, if they would just give us a little, like, update or a little, like, I don't know, summer special or something about how they're doing. Or maybe something similar to, like, I don't know, the freshman.
Yeah, maybe a new book where they just give a diamond scene.
That would be great.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. All right, so. The Queen Bee and talk about. So Queen Bee released around last time, and I believe personally, I think around this time or 1 month later last year, around this time, there were 2 books being released.
One was The Nanny Affair, and the other, both the books were like huge success.
Pardon? I basically didn't hear any of that.
Yeah, the Queen Bee. I mean, can you hear me?
Yeah, a bit. You keep on coming in and out, but I think I can follow. So.
What's the last thing you heard?
I heard The Nanny Affair, then I heard you sort of squeak out Queen Bee. So.
What?
Oh, I heard you sort of saying. I heard you say The Nanny Affair, but that was basically it.
Okay, yeah, no problem. I think the connection is an issue. Okay, yeah. So I said the last year around this time, or maybe 1 month later, I believe 2 books were being really super hit. It was blowing up. People liked both the books.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think I don't know if you might have said this and you just cut out, but I think also Distant Shores was running at this time as well because I remember it ended the day I moved house on July 17th. So that was, I think it would make sense if it started around this time. So yeah, I think Distant Shores was also coming out, and it was quite popular for those. So
yeah, Distant Shores. Yeah, I think Distant Shores released when Blades of Light and Shadow was halfway through, I guess, in April, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I remember that now. Yeah, like it was like chapter 7, I think. So yeah, sounds about right in terms of timeline.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it was going really well for them. I think obviously people were saying sort of after Queen Bee ended and Distant Shores it was the other way around. I remember people saying that obviously people weren't too fond of the nanny affair purely because it's quite an explicit book, because it's just so, it's not exactly different from what Choices has done, except I think Witness had also finished around that time, so it's just like it sort of felt like that was another repeat of that, and it felt like sort of Choices going down this sort of bad route. So I think that's why Distant Shores and Queen Bee became so popular, because they were more like what they used to publish rather than something like Witness or The Nanny Affair. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not the biggest fan of The Nanny Affair.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're right. The way it was. So, yeah, but at the time, no other book was being released, and the pandemic year, so people even liked the Nanny Affair because, and the Queen Bee, because it was the only way out. And I believe Open Heart also on a long hiatus for like a long month.
Oh
To
god, the Open Heart hiatus was horrible. Like I started Open Heart, like I started it when it came out, read like 3 chapters, didn't like it too much, so I stopped. Then when the hiatus came around, I thought, well, why not? So I started reading it, got to up to where the hiatus was, and I'm like, oh god, wait. So then I realized people have already been going through this for like 3 months of waiting for new content. Then they uploaded like that one chapter in, what was it, May, and then they went on another hiatus, and it was like, oh my goodness, just give us the content, please, because it was just horrible. I was trying to find like fan fiction at that point, just trying to see if I could have some moments with Raphael. So
Yeah, and they also left it at a point that was really interesting because Kyra was was about to have a surgery and her life was hanging, and Rafael was set to release for set to leave for Brazil. So, and that's where they ended, and there was no news for a long time, and then it suddenly came in September, I think, came back for the.
yeah, that's when it sort of came back again, and also because at the very beginning of the book 2, you're given the teaser that one of the characters is going to die. That makes it even worse for the fandom, because they're like, wait, what if they're rewriting it to make it one of the love interests? Oh god, what are they doing? Personally, I believe they did actually write it so that one of the love interests did not die, because I was part of the fandom which sort of believed that Raphael was set up to sort of die, which was quite sad to think, but I'm glad they sort of pulled away from that. And obviously I love Danny, but it was like, if I had to choose between Raphael and Danny, Raphael any day.
Yeah, and I think before that, Rafael was not a proper love interest because Rafael was, we had some, say like we he helped Rafael in the book 1 also when he was really hurt. We get diamonds in there, but we didn't have him as a proper love interest. But after the accident, after the assassination, Rafael becomes like a proper love interest.
Yeah, I think that's because also they weren't really going to go back and rewrite some of the dialogue. I remember they did do like some things with the backgrounds and stuff. They changed that up, but they didn't like directly change any, like they didn't make him a love interest early. And I believe they were just planning to kill him off. And then they said, well, since the fan loves him so much, we might as well keep him around. Wait, since they like him so much, let's make him a love interest. So that's sort of the vibes I was getting from that.
Yeah, exactly. And from book 1's incidents, Kyra, these two, I thought how they were introduced and how some scenes went about them. I thought maybe they're going to be love interests, but I waited the whole book 1 and they were not love interests. And I was surprised kind of because the vibe Rafael and Kyra they give us, it was kind of obvious that they are going to be the love interest. But then, Rafael became a love interest halfway through the second book. But then Kyra never became the love interest. But I thought maybe at first that they are both are going to be love interest. It was kind of obvious, I thought.
I thought, yeah, I believe that Kyra was also going to become a love interest, because I think you're given this diamond scene where you go to like, I think it was lunch with her or something. Whereas, if you took a character which most certainly is not a love interest, something like Sienna, let's say, I don't believe, at least I can't remember her getting any diamond scenes one to one with the
No.
main character. Whereas with Kyra, you do, which sort of feels like they were trying to set something up, but then.
Yeah.
Also the wiki as well, they sort of say that Kyra was a love interest, which is not the case, but it seems that lots of people are in agreement with you in that they think that she was, or at least was planned to be, and then
Yeah.
decided against it.
Yeah. Yeah, because when we first meet her, we really show concern for her, and she also starts flirting with our main character, kind of. And then, yeah, I think in book one we also have a lot of diamond scenes with her. In book two, we also have multiple diamond scenes with her. But then, yeah, like you know what happens? She just disappears
Yeah.
after book.
And then obviously then the whole Ethan trend started up again, which was Ethan gets a diamond scene every single bloody chapter. So, that was a lot. And then also because I think because Ethan is I think one of my friends, she did like a poll on her story which was like asking for most popular love interests out of books, and sort of seems that I think number one was Liam from the Royal Romance, but I think number three was Ethan, which just goes to show, at least at the time that it was made, how popular Ethan was. Then I think he messed up in book three, to be honest, but I haven't actually read it, so I can't say. I just seen a lot of people getting disinterested with him, but it just sort of feels, yeah, because they were giving so much time to Ethan. I think that they sort of maybe had plans for Kyra and Raphael, but then they decided to sort of almost cast those away because of it didn't seem that anyone else was picking anyone else apart from Ethan. So I think that's why they gave him so much time in order for them to rack in money. So it's sad, but I think that was the case. And they eventually made Raphael a love interest, but with Kyra, obviously, because of the massive female player base over like the male player base, I think they would have prioritized Raphael over her, which is really sad because I loved Kyra so much.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but thank God they didn't kill Rafael, because Rafael was like a sweetheart in there, and just he would just risk his life for anyone. So if he had died, it would have been a big bummer for all the players, I guess.
Exactly, it would have been really sad, and I think honestly, if they did kill off like such a sweet character, they would have gotten like so much hate for it. So I think they did the right choice in not killing him off. And obviously, Danny was heartbreaking, but
Yeah,
I think they made the right choice with that.
yeah. It was not. Yeah, with Rafael, it would have been like 100 times more heartbreaking. Breaking, you know.
Exactly. I mean, that's kind of what they want because they want to show. I think Open Heart is supposed to be one of those more like sadder series. Is sad
Let me
is
tell
that?
you how to.
Yeah, and obviously because it's a whole, it's a medical book, and obviously I think they'd want to try and show how the life as a doctor is not. It's not a pretty life. It's not Grey's Anatomy, even though Grey's Anatomy isn't that cheery, anyways. But it's not picture perfect, and that it has got those sort of things happening in it. And obviously, I mean, Raphael's death would have been a much more realistic one in terms of what would be more likely, I suppose, with him risking his life more often. But in terms of a marketing perspective, they really could not have risked to lose a massive player base due to killing off like an important character.
Yeah, yeah, agree with you. And also with Ethan, I believe the story. If you look, like it mainly focuses on like with Quinby, I will talk about that, the professor student, and also here it's just like your mentor and mentee, this relationship, and like what Ethan and Naveen had, but the same thing we have with Ethan, but added with more to this chemistry, that with like love, like this thing we have with Ethan. So it's just because the whole thing is between the Ethan, a doctor, and his intern here. So I think it would have made more sense, and a lot of player would have been really more attached to the story if only they had made Ethan a gender customizable and race customizable love interest. Because if that were the case, then it would have really resonated well, because Ethan is definitely the main like the main heartbeat of the story, because it is designed to be that way, like your relationship with your mentor, and how you navigate the hospital drama with the help of that person.
Definitely. I feel like, because some of the other love interests at times, it just felt like side characters. Because, Bryce was always third wheeling for you, but he's also a love interest. So why would you do that anyways? So obviously, yeah, I agree with you. The whole customizable, race customizable thing would have worked. And honestly, I think if they did something similar to the nanny affair, where, they had like that whole, you could choose the gender, you could choose the race. And if they did that with Ethan, made it a single love interest story, being like a sort of boss intern relationship, that might have been, that might have even been perceived better, rather than having a whole bunch of love interests and one getting much more dominant screen time over the others. Which, yeah, I think if they had made it single love interest, obviously people wouldn't have freaked out much about it. But then obviously having the option for the other ones. But since they were giving Ethan so much time anyways, they might have at least, bothered to put that in for him at least. Because, God, I have a lot of mixed feelings about Ethan. I don't know whether I love him, whether I hate him, but, it's just hard because, yeah, I think it would have been obviously, like Raphael was my love interest, book 2 onwards. But, with Ethan, because he was mine before I like switched over, I think definitely that could be like a much more easy way in term to present him if they did choose to do that whole customizable thing. And honestly, I think they should make it customizable for every book. I mean, even if they made the main character, I think the main character is the more important one to be able to customize the gender of an MC. I think that's probably the more like, because if you can do that, then obviously you still have your fair selection of love interest. But then obviously, if you have like a forced love interest, sort of if it's a single love interest, like the Nanny Affair, having a customizable love interest makes the most sense because they don't have to bother doing sprites for other ones. But then obviously with Open Heart having so many other characters and needing all these different backgrounds because it's like in a completely different setting to other books, it might have just been too time consuming. I'm going on a rant here, but yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And like I said, when this book released, also at that time, they didn't have much, and they just released this book like as a drama. But I think if it were to release around this time, then Ethan definitely would have been a gender customizable and race customizable love interest. And have you read the book or have you heard about this book, Slow Burn? Because I think it's the perfect book for, or it can just set a precedent for upcoming books because it has everything you need: gender customizable main character and two love interests. The main love interest, who is like dominating, just like Ethan, they are gender customizable and race customizable. And the second
Mm-hmm.
love interest is gender customizable but not race customizable. But still, this is just the perfect setting you need to start a book.
Sounds great. Is this Slow Burn VIP? Or is it
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, okay. I feel like that also makes sense because if they're like setting such a high standard by VIP books, that's definitely a way for them to rack in more money. Because the VIP, like, I had it for 2 months. It's bloody expensive. Like, at least in English currency, being £15 a month, that's like maybe like $20 a month. So it's like it's a lot. Like just for like unlimited keys and like for like what, like 10 daily diamonds, I don't think it's worth it. But then
mm,
obviously if they include such good stories in there with so many options, obviously they have to be released to everyone at a later date. But they've they really held off for doing that for like what With Every Heartbeat was set to be released in like July to everyone, but then they really just decided not to do that until much later, which was a bit sad. But then also they need money, I guess, so that is the way to do it. And if they set such high standard in the VIP books to get more money, I think they would. That sounds like a smart thing to do in a marketing perspective.
mm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I think they need to do something with the cost or just raise the benefits because yeah, you're right. And depending on which region you are from, it's even way costly, and it's just it's just huge. The
Yeah.
cost in some places.
At some points I just would think, oh, to hell with it. I'd start watching like people playing it through on YouTube. Like I can't name creators off the top of my head, but like I have like 3 people I always like check just to see some of these VIP playthroughs because it's just like I cannot be bothered to pay for it myself. And obviously
Yeah.
I'm very thankful for them to do that because otherwise, half the stories and plots I would not get, and then my love for Hazel would not be as prominent.
Yeah, but glad they're releasing it for general public at after some time with a prominent interval because they released a very scandalous proposal, and they'll be next releasing the Unexpected Heiress, which I'm really excited for because I think it's going to be having a lot of mystery like Veil of Secrets. I'm looking forward to that, and I think they took a really good approach because just instead of just releasing the whole book for non VIP players, they're releasing one chapter each week. I think that just keeps the players on their toes and keeps the excitement alive because otherwise 15 chapters at a time, if they release it, it kind of overwhelms and kills the excitement personally for me. But I think that's a good idea. They're doing a very scandalous proposal.
Yeah, if they did it like the sort of standard way they release books, doing a chapter a week, I think also because then if it was released to them all at once, obviously the keys would take so long to refresh. Unless they bought keys, they might as well have just bought VIP to have the unlimited keys anyways. So that release would almost seem pointless if they released it to everyone and then they had to buy VIP in order to be able to read it in one lot. So definitely that makes the most sense if they just release it like they would any other book, because also the spoilers. I mean, people who have VIP still spoiling the stories on their spoiling the stories on their stories, but but then obviously if it was released to everyone and it was released in on one lot, everyone would be at different points in the story because they might have work or school, or some of them maybe some of them maybe have bought keys or just anything like that. They'd be at such different places, or how dedicated they were to the book, that it'd be impossible to sort of be in the fandom without getting spoiled. So if they do it weekly, and still the VIP players have access to the entire thing, but if they did it weekly just for everyone else, that makes the most sense.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That would be making more sense for sure. And I'm just glad that they're doing this, because I remember before that they released 2 or 3 books, just all together, all the chapters, and it was getting, well, like you said, you will be needing more keys. You'll be waiting, and you need to just binge read it. But like you were just stuck. All right, so I need time for this, and it's kind of hard to get time also depending on what you're doing. So it's the best, I think, weekly release, just like any new book would be releasing. So it's still, and you also wouldn't feel like you're getting a stale thing, like it's an old thing you're reading, but it would have this touch that it's a brand new thing you're reading.
Exactly, yeah, because I mean you wouldn't have had it before, so definitely it would seem new to you.
Mm, exactly, that's that. All right, so now talking about Queen Bee, how did you like the book Queen Bee?
Okay, so I really enjoyed Queen Bee. Especially, I think the thing that hooked me was like the openings of chapters having like the tea update you at every beginning of the chapter. That was absolutely great. Like that made me really excited to play it. Like the way it was written as well, it was really exciting. Like I adored that. That was like the opening was just so dramatic, and it really made me actually, because for some books I would like spend my key to like open the chapter up, then not finish it. But with Queen Bee, having that really dramatic ass opening, I loved that. Then the art in it was stunning. The storyline was really dramatic, and I did actually I made it one of those books where I actually did spend all my diamonds on it, apart from outfits. So I basically made sure that I would like be at the top, which was really fun. Actually, that was really, it was a lot of dedication and lots of like book mining, but we got there in the end. And that it was like really, it was a really good story. The only thing that I wasn't too fond of was the whole Ian or Ina situation. It was just like, I mean, like anything, like Open Heart, even, it's like such an obviously forced love and trust. I mean, to be fair, at times it didn't even really feel like Zoe was a love and trust, because like Bryce, like she's third wheeling for you and Ian or Ina the entire time, and it feels a bit out of place. Like you're supposed to be a love and trust to me. What are you doing? It feels a bit strange. And yes, they'd throw in the odd diamond scene here and there for Zoe, but she would just feel so like lonely. And personally myself, I have a thing for villains, so I really wanted to have Poppy as a love interest. And Poppy's not even a love interest, but she got more attention than Zoe, which was really weird, because I honestly would have thought that they would have, if they had 2 love interests, maybe something like Slow Burn, as you said, they would have at least tried to balance their screen time out, because 2, that sounds easy enough to manage, right? And if you're living with Zoe, that seems easy to manage out. Because I think another roommate love interest you had was, I cannot pronounce her name for the life of me, but in The Elementalist, the girl that was living with you, she was a love interest, but she got enough screen time because you sort of saw her a lot. But then with Zoe, she's just sort of pops in every now and then, and honestly just feels more like a friend character or even a side character. And sometimes it feels like Poppy, who isn't even a love interest, gets more attention than her, which is a bit odd.
Yeah, Yeah, I totally agree with that. So it's what we have. Like, ironically, we're talking about open heart, and now here we have a complete opposite situation of open heart. Like, yeah, you put open heart in front of a mirror, exactly what do you get? You get here. But one relief that the main love interest, the dominating love interest, the professor, our professor is a gender customizable and race customizable love interest. That's one big plus point. They did good thing here. But other than that, you see, I don't think there is another a male love interest who you would be like, all right, so this is a prominent love interest. But you have Zoe on the other hand. Veronica, I think, kind of a love interest too. Like, so far is not a love interest. We're using them as fling, but can become a love interest. Who knows? And then we have Chloe. We have Poppy also, like you said. In we get one very intimate scene with her. So it's just like female ally dominating book.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, if you pick the female, that is. But yeah, no, it's exactly that. It just feels. I mean, I think because they made, like so, like because they made them so customizable. I think because they put in all that work, they said, right, so let's give them lots of screen time too. Whereas Zoe, she's just there as that sort of. She was just there, like as a like solid character. You weren't allowed to customize her in any way. Not that I would, because she's gorgeous, but you know it just sort of feels because they made customizable, it sort of feels like because they put all that work into it, they said, well, to hell with it, let's also put that much screen time in for them as well.
Hmm. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, but and clearly you can see, like, the professor, like you said, they're the main love interest, because even, like, yeah, Zoe also at first tries to help her main character to get along with professor, and encourages us to, "Oh, you can impress this." They basically, Zoe, she impressed our professor also at first. That was there.
Exactly, like it just feels a bit strange that you'd have a love interest who doesn't seem to want to be your love interest because they're trying to set you up with somebody else. Makes no sense.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I remember I first when the Queen Bee book came out, like I said, the nanny affair, and it was going on, and at the time there was not much in choices, so I kind of after reading the first chapter a little bit, I stopped it, because I was thinking after Distant Shores ended, like I said, it was a pretty good ending, but also a sad, because we didn't learn a lot about a lot of love interest, and it kind of felt like a lot of holes were there, so I kind of stopped there, because not much gender customizable main characters were there in those books. And after some time, when the Queen Bee book was at chapter 9 or something, at the time I think I was reading the Nanny Affairs, but I was not in Queen Bee. But I think I watched one of the videos of the Kyle's videos, where this Benji scene he talks about, and he just showed this, adoration center or something that Benji created for main character, and how the whole thing went down. And then I was like, okay, I gotta check out this book, and I started reading to get to that chapter. And till then, I was in totally love with this book, and I was like, wow, this is kind of like America's Most Eligible. I'm liking the competition, and it was a wild ride. The whole book was super awesome.
It was great, and yeah, no, now you mentioned it, the whole Benji sort of arc, it felt really great, and I honestly liked how they were showing that, the main character wasn't just like a weak main character. Like, I remember something sort of similar happening in like Red Carpet Diaries book 2, when she was invited to dinner, and like Victoria's father was being a bit, no, not Victoria, the father was being a bit dodgy with her, and then obviously she was presented as being a bit weak in that scene, but it was really nice to see that the main character was actually quite a strong character, and it was going really well until they had to bring the professor back into it,
Yeah.
then to be like, oh no, I'll save you, just
Yeah.
I loved it up until that happened. I mean, like, sure, I was quite flustered because I'm like, okay, it's my love interest, hello, but then also it just sort of felt like they could at least show that the character can manage without their love interest at times.
Exactly, exactly. That's yeah. I think we give Benji enough, trouble on our own. And then yeah, I think the Benji had us, like finally, had us in his grip, or like he tricked us with something, and then the professor bursts through the door and saves us. Yeah, you're right, and we were like, oh wow, he saves us. And then kind of yeah, that was that.
Yeah, it just felt so openly forced. Like, was were they just waiting outside the door for something weird to happen? Because that's even stranger. And the whole Benji arc, having that creep guy come up to you and then your love interest saves you. Obviously, it feels quite cliche, and I can't name it off the top of my head, but I can name a couple of stories where they have done something quite similar to that. And oh yeah, something like Star and Decorum. They did that with Duke Richards, and then Sinclair was the forced love interest comes in to save you. So there seems to be like a really big pattern with like forced love interests saving the main characters from creepy guys, which is quite funny now when you say it out loud. But it's just sort of when you start to think about it, Jesus Christ, they do that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they have a pattern. They do definitely follow, like you said. There are lots of other patterns that I've kind of seen. I'm seeing currently, like after playing a lot of books. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Like, there are patterns in choices, definitely. Like they're
Yeah,
signature plots.
exactly. Like they definitely have some like strengths and weaknesses when writing their plots, and obviously if they see something that's gone well, they will reuse it because that's just something they do. um but yeah, no, exactly. And when something doesn't go well, they don't really go back to it. I think they definitely pay attention to the player base at times, because I feel like that also influenced Open Heart so much, the player base from that. And like other stories, it just feels like books that go on hiatus, they mainly go on hiatus because of the fandom. I don't think it's because of anything else. So yeah, definitely, I think they actually listen to the community quite a lot for that, and then therefore they sort of decide what they should do with their patterns and stuff later on.
Yeah, I wish they do it more, but I think it could be the opposite thing in terms of giving not love interest, the books sequels, because the blog post they released, no, not the blog post, it was, yeah, blog post, in one of the blog posts in January when they canceled all the books, Hero and stuff. So
Oh
then
yes.
yeah, so them I think I can't remember the name of the CEO, but he said that there are lots of players and choices, and the ones who really love Hero and these books are loved by people, but it's only the people on Instagram, on Twitter, on Facebook. But this is not the main choices players. So there are lots of players with different tastes, and majority of players they don't like these books. They like other books like Royal Romance and America's Most Eligible and other books, and we give them sequel because they're the most popular books, and that's basically keeping the company open. And as those books are putting the money and keeping the company open, so we are coming out with new ideas for new books, which I totally agree with. But just the point is that, and it's understandable because a lot of people just play the book and they just go. They don't come or go search for the app on Instagram or something. So that's something like I don't know how they do that, but that just says that maybe there are lots of players who just don't show their opinion or show what they like, or so, because they say majority. So I don't know, because I think the fandom, like you said, on Instagram or on other places, it's pretty huge. So but if that's not the majority, then wow.
Exactly. Like, I think they did it recently. Well, not recently. It was quite like, I think maybe November last year, they added the sort of addition where you could see how many people have played the book, and they might be paying attention to those analytics, but then also letting us see those sort of analytics in order to sort of realize, okay, this is likely to get a sequel because it's got lots of plays, whereas something else like I can't. Hero doesn't have as many plays as other ones because it's older and it has that different art style.
Yeah.
So you can definitely sort of see from those. But honestly, I remember they do this sometimes with Choices Insiders. Is like I remember they said something. It was back in like maybe like July or June. They put out like a poll on their insiders where they had like 3 different types of stories that you could sort of vote for, which was like, oh, which one would you like to see most? I remember there being like a cooking one, which I think
Yeah.
might be what Slow Burn's idea was. Then there was one being like stranded on an island, which I think they're also doing soon, because I shipwrecked, I think it might be called. I'm not sure. I haven't been keeping up
Yeah.
as much.
Yeah.
And then they also did another other sort of, they did like a political one, which might have been foreign affairs. So you sort of see that they did like put some of that stuff out. But honestly, I think they should have maybe done like an in-app survey of, you know, which books people liked and which ones they would want to see again. Because I was very disappointed when, you know, I read that blog post back in January or February, whenever it came out, and they said that Ride or Die was being discontinued because, you know, I was waiting so long for that, and then only to find out, oh no, they're not doing it. And then I'm like, well, damn, okay. So basically, one of my favorite books with my favorite characters is just going to be ending then. Obviously, the ending of Ride or Die felt quite like an ending I still would have enjoyed to see, because they've managed to make a sequel out of everything. They've made a sequel out of the Nanny Affair, which ending could have just been that ending. I don't think they needed a sequel. But then something like Ride or Die, was a much more, in my opinion, a much more interesting storyline, which if they just left it there, you know, it just sort of feels a bit, oh well, but it was so popular as well, so it sort of feels like, why did they discontinue it? I think they said something about the main writers leaving or something like that, that you know, some of the older books such as Hero, or I don't know, I can't remember all the books they named on that post, but you know, they were saying that some of the reasons they didn't continue it was either one, the book just wasn't popular enough, or that, like, you know, their writers had left, and the writers who made the book, as good as it was, and they wanted to give us the best quality. I'm like, yes, but can you just tell me what happens next in Ride or Die? Like, I really want to know. So it's just quite frustrating at times that they didn't do that. So yeah, like an in-app survey would be great if they could sort of, you know, ask the player base what they actually wanted, and maybe off that, since they've done that before in Insiders with future books, maybe they could do that with sequels as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And even the worst thing is that, yeah, Ride or Die, it definitely deserved a sequel where it ended. And the worst thing is, I think Endless Summer, it also could have gotten for a sequel because where it ended. But Hero, it hurts me the most because it is really an incomplete story without a sequel, because it literally is just like just one part. But you're right. The nanny affair is giving, you know, it goes back to the same line. Max, yeah, the CEO of Choices, he mentioned that, you know, the books that get that is the more popular, you know, they give it sequel, you know, and it's understandable. But I think they should have just put it in the waiting list, because they, in the future or something, instead of just canceling so many books, and specifically books like Hero or, you know, Ride or Die, that are literally incomplete without a book too, specifically Hero, I would say.
Exactly, like, now you've mentioned it, I completely forgot about the ending of Hero, and it's just so abrupt. It's literally a cliffhanger, which, you know, leaving it there is just like a completely ridiculous idea when they give sequels to a book which literally ends where you sort of, you know, you have the very clear beginning, middle, and end. You meet Sam, it's, you know, it's a nice relationship, then oh no, Sophia's there, that's sort of the middle one, sort of, oh god, Sophia's with Robin, all that stuff happening in the middle, and the end of it, you know, after the wedding, they've managed to get back together again. That's a solid beginning, middle, and end. Whereas, you know, with something like Hero, you know, you have your beginning, oh no, you've got these powers now because you kind of got hit on the head or whatever, and then, you know, where it ends, it sort of feels like that would be roughly like the middle of it, you say. And you also mentioned Endless Summer. Now, if anyone has been following me, they know I'm not the biggest fan of Endless Summer, but I agree with you. Endless Summer does deserve more time, considering, I mean, it sort of ends with them getting away, but, you know, it still feels like that was a much more popular series. And, you know, something like that, like they gave Witness, I wouldn't really call it a book two, but they made Witness so much longer than it had to be. And obviously, they sort of saw how the fandom wasn't too big of a fan of the Nanny Affair, yet they gave it a sequel when it was, I think the only reason they did is because, well, probably the writers were still there, and also they probably had ideas for it, and they sort of just didn't know what else to do. And I think mainly just because there was such a lack of content at the time when the Nanny Fair came out. That's why so many people played it, in order to sort of keep that sort of choice and assassin alive. But then, you know, if they just go off that, they should realize that it's not actually that popular of a book. It's just you're not giving us anything else to read.
Yeah,
God,
definitely. You know,
Pixelberry's gonna hate me for this. I can feel it.
yeah, yeah. It's like you take a job before, you know, after someone, and your predecessor was so, you know, like, you know, they lowered the bar down so much that, you know, what, even if you just do a very genuine thing, you'll be like, wow, you're doing a great thing.
Exactly. If it was just like a normal storyline where there wasn't like an overly dominant love interest, like there was in Wolf Bride, who for some reason, like, you know, a love interest that doesn't kidnap us once in our lifetime, you know, that would be great. Thanks, you know, like that's how low my standards have got. As long as they're not like rude, the love interests, that I don't care at this point, because you know some of the ones that we've gotten previously, they're just like, whoa, they're just horny. So it's like, it's just really ridiculous at times, you know. So they've set, like, yeah, like you said, they set the standards so low now. If they just do something that's vaguely normal, you're almost impressed by it.
Yeah. But but the nanny affair for Sam, like you said, giving it a sequel. I heard that almost a lot of people, a majority of people, they just spent diamonds on Sam because they played all the scene with Sam, all the romance scenes, all the intimate scenes they could have gotten. Even if they had gotten the same lines written on their screen, probably the same scene on a different settings, on a different background with the different same music, they just kept, like, they were so attracted towards Sam that they spent a lot of diamonds. They ran out of diamonds. They bought diamonds. They bought VIP at that time when it was available, so that they can just keep spending diamonds on Sam. And I think that it just it was just, stimulated for choices, because it stimulated the money for choices a lot. They earned from that book, so definitely deserved a book too in terms of that.
I see what you mean, because also I can see why it would be popular, because it's one of those slightly more adult books. And obviously, people need to realize that Choices isn't just like a sort of teenage player base. It's like it ranges up. It can go older as well. So for example, like Kyle or some of my like people I know play Choices. Aren't just in high school. Some of them are in college. Some of them are, have an actual job themselves and they're sort of working full time, but yet they still play Choices on the side. So yeah, obviously, I feel like they have those different sort of stories. I just also find with the Nanny Affair that there's something they did with it was, where I can't, when you download the app for the first time, you're presented with the option to like select one of 3 genres, and then you're given like a suggestion book. Now, I remember when I joined, I selected the romance option and was given the royal romance. Now, when you select the romance option, you're given the nanny affair, which sort of definitely changes people's expectations for what romance books would be in Choices, which is just a bit odd. I think they should give it something slightly a bit more PG in case there are. I mean, obviously, they because of the nanny affair and Witness, they changed the age rating on the App Store, and it's like, well, damn. I mean, of course they would have to, but it just feels like they realize that they've got a younger player base, but then also they still make that stuff for the older player base. But I don't know really where I'm going with this point of mine, but it's just sort of, it's right for them to make slightly more adult content for the adults playing it. It's just that if they don't upload anything else, it sort of just feels a bit for the younger players, well, what the hell do we do now?
Yeah. Yeah, because when I came into Choices, I was also given 3 options. I think romance, and there was another option. I don't know what was that
Family
option.
and friendship,
But
I think, is another one.
yeah, but I'm really glad I pressed on that option, and it really directed me directly to high school story. I think it was in young adult or something. I really forgot. So
Oh yeah.
I started playing high school story, and that was a really good story. Like you're saying, for teenagers, because in that book we have just even after prom and stuff, we just just basically it's just because it's also teenage boys and girls, so it doesn't the language it is and how the intimate scenes are written, it's just stops at just kissing, but not like, it's not like nanny affairs or any other places where they like just go too far away with this scenes. So I think that's just perfect when you're talking about a high school story and stuff.
Exactly. And that, like, they should, like, it was really good what they did with that. They didn't make it like too over the top. And the Nanny Affair and books like that, like Witness, it says bad Clark and Nanny Affair in the same category as Witness, but if you think about it, it really is. Those are much like kinkier in terms of their romance scenes, but then obviously something like High School Story, it's much more wholesome, and it's quite refreshing if you reread it, and then you're like, wow, it was actually a time when Choices was quite innocent.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like from now going on, I personally believe that it's not going to go back, but it's just going to go because just just you can see to yourself, just calculate the books being released after the Witness Nanny Affair thing. That all the books you will see, they definitely go even like they follow this path and just in the other app stores you will see it's just too much explicit with its like the language or the story plot. So sometimes of like more like sort of say to sexual scenes that you will see because just see all the books even in the the laws of attraction currently being released, you have your main love interest and beside you have flings like all just one night stand just for no strings attached, just they appear for one chapter. So this kind of things are becoming a new norm for choices. So I think we're headed into that direction because Mighty First Love's another high school storybook, but it just goes down that path instead of following the old high school story pattern.
Exactly. I think they really, really should have, kept to that. And the thing, and I've finally figured out how to phrase it, is like if somebody wants to read something like The Nanny Affair or Witness, they should go somewhere to read that stuff. And I think choices should have sort of remained the way it was, with their sort of, yes, they're now and then having these romance scenes, but not making it like every single chapter, making that what drives the main character in the love interest relationship. And, they do this more with Witness than The Nanny Affair, but, it sometimes feels like the plot isn't even there and it's just, oh, by the way, there's like some people trying to kill you at the same time, but oh no, but my love interest's hot. That seems to be the way the books like that were going. It's like, oh yeah, there's this dramatic plot going on in the background, yeah, but can I bang the love interest? That sort of feels like it's every single chapter, it's locked behind diamond scenes. It felt so restricted how you could do things. I mean, it's not like you're missing out if you don't spend your diamonds on it, but it just still feels.
Yeah,
It just didn't feel right.
yeah, definitely. Um, that's the way it's gonna be from now on, I guess. Because even I remember in some books, it was perfect match. I think even the people who are trying to harm you, even you get intimate moments with them too. So that was that.
Yes. Oh God, I forgot her name. The woman's name who worked a perfect match. I generally like to
Cecile
remind. Cecile, yeah, there we go. I really wanted her to be a love interest. I don't know what it was, but something about her was like really attractive to me. So that was quite funny. But yeah, no, it just sort of feels like even then, I mean, they were giving a taste for everyone. If somebody wanted Cecile to be a love interest, there you go, you had a moment. It's just so they cover all bases, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah, but it was just at the end because heist of Monaco, like the all whole story goes on, the plot and stuff, and were given like these 100 diamonds back to back, like like one last final moment with all the love interests. So that's a good way, nice way of ending those. But if each chapter just goes by that and just revolves around that, so it's kind of kills like, oh well, we're getting the same thing again and again. It's just about because for Queen Bee, it's just even the one you're against with, you just so it kind of doesn't make sense because sometimes because it just imagine if Poppy you're sharing a moment with each other, then how can the next morning they can just come to you and they can say, hey, you mean words, and again, so it's just like a machine, you're turning it on and turning it off.
Oh my God, I agree with that so much. That definitely that sounds right. The way they do it, and yeah, ending stories with some of those touchdown scenes, it sort of feels right. I mean, sometimes they might have maybe one like in the middle, but then something like Platinum, I think they gave you like one with Ava Relay somewhere before, but then at the end you get one, which sort of, I think once the plot's covered, then you can have those romance scenes, unless the book fully revolves around romance, something like America's Most Eligible. Okay, granted, America's Most Eligible doesn't focus around romance, but it's quite a heavy part in it with your whole reputation with the audience.
Yeah.
um it's good to sort of see that balance, and obviously unless the book, it would influence the story and how they do it. Influence by meaning you choose that it influences it, rather than, oh, by the way, you now have to hide under Kingsley's desk now because someone's coming in. Just when that's sort of forced upon you, that's being forced upon you. But when you can choose whether you want to do that, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just the thing is that yeah, it's like you said before. The books, like it's not just these books are yeah, it's no problem because sometimes there are different readers with different tastes, and everyone would like something, and there should be something for everyone. But the problem is like the same kind of books being released at the same time, very frequently, like like you said, the forbidden romance aspect and those like you said, hiding behind under a desk. It was kind of the same for Sam and then Kingsley. You said so. It was like the same thing back to back and nothing else. So that kind of pissed off people, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like if they had variety at the beginning, when like they were first releasing, they did have that variety because Distant Shores was coming out, which like this. Don't get me wrong, Distant Shores had a good plot, but I don't think it would have been as popular if it was releasing at the same time as some other popular books. Like let's say Perfect Match was being released at that time as well, having like the strong story, but with like good love interest as well. I don't think Distant Shores would have been as popular and as loved by the fan base if it had been released around then. Whereas obviously so they had the variety. I think that's definitely what they needed at the time. Whereas obviously when Distant Shores and Blades had all ended and you were just left with the Nanny Affair, Queen Bee, I think Witness ended around halfway through Queen Bee or something like that. I can't really remember the timeline too well. With when you have all those books going on at the same time, it just felt way too much. Like it was too much to handle, and it was like you didn't really catch a break from it, but you felt like you had to play them in order to do so. And if they were to add in a book with a different genre somewhere in there, then that book would have been like a lifesaver because you would have gotten like if they had like a horror book, like what people were saying about the whole zombie apocalypse idea, which was very trendy around that time, which I think they are doing something about that now.
Yeah.
That whole the idea being popular then, if it was to have released around then, it would have done so well because of people being bored of the content that they were getting at the time.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. And also, one thing you would like to see that, like the same thing you said, like the timing, because timing, I believe, is really important. It has played a really, pivotal role in choices because the Nightbound, a lot of people would be saying, this is a really great book. A lot of people liked it, but mostly they played it after it was being released because at the time it was being released, I think Open Heart and other books were being released at the same time, and they were very popular books. So the Nightbound didn't get the attention it needed, and being released at the same time, I think the other books got sequels, but so this kind of didn't never got the sequel, and it looked like it was about to get a sequel, Nightbound, but the it had a lot of potential till the end, but then they ended it at book one anyway. So that was, I think, it was only because of the timing of the book, like
Yeah.
like getting murdered because of being at the wrong place at the wrong time. So the book.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's like I think around that era of Nightbound when Open Heart was being like first released. I say that first really like released like it's been released a second time. It hasn't. But that sort of the standalone books that were released around then. So I think Ride or Die was also released at a similar time. That was like there's sort of like little stream of standalone books, Heist Monaco as well. Like all these really strong books are sort of just being discarded because Open Heart was such a strong idea. Because I believe also that I heard somewhere that Open Heart was actually an idea for the app when it was like first launched back in 2016. So obviously, if they had been working on it so hard, I think this even if the fandom didn't like it, they still would have kept going, considering of how long it had been in the making. Which is, it's good to know that they put in that dedication, but could you maybe give some of that time that you're using on Open Heart to give some of the books people like sequels? Like just maybe it's just a tiny suggestion. You get me? It's just it's a bit it just doesn't feel right.
Yeah, subtle suggestions. Yeah, definitely. I totally understand what you're trying to say there. Yeah, but still, I think one thing Charts is really doing well, and I because of the thing is that they, like they said, the sequels. It's kind of it's just up and down. See, we're liking books and not getting the second part. It's kind of turning us off. But at the same time, they're also trying to come up with new projects, new genres, new books. It's just super awesome because it will just open endless possibility for new players and for new things to happen. And I'm really excited for the new books coming this year.
Yeah, like some of the stuff they've presented to us in like a lineup that's set to be released in like maybe a couple of months, that they seem really promising books, and I might have to start getting back into choices because of these new books because they sound really exciting. So I might actually, I think after this I'm gonna start I think like the last time I've been on choices was literally when Foreign Affairs was like still in its early stages. So I have to revisit it now because it just feels like that's something I need to do because some of the stuff they're putting out now, as you said, seems quite promising. They seem to be on a slightly better path. Hello? Yeah, I can.
Hey, can you hear me? I'm sorry, so I thought I lost you for a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's just you were dead silent after I'd finished, and I was like, "You good?" But yeah, in case you didn't catch that.
Yeah, no worries. It's just an internet connection, long distance, no
Yeah,
problem.
now what I was saying was is that so from some of the stuff you're saying, I think I need to start because some of the stuff they're promising to us in like a roadmap, it seems quite promising. The stuff they've also said that's in the making, so I might need to start hopping back onto the trend of choices to sort of catch up because as I was saying, the last time I played was around Foreign Affairs, so I think I need to definitely get back on it then.
Definitely. Yeah. And one thing also about choices, the writing is really good because the way they write the chapters and the plot is just like the compact. Because I've read some other places. I think I only liked this
Other app, Dream Zone.
written, but still I feel like after reading choices that it's just really hard to come up with compact plots and compact chapters for each and every book, and they do really a good job choices, and also with the music and a really interactive experience that choices give us.
Yeah, I mean the thing is like they put so much effort into all that artwork and all that music, like it's really great. But can we actually, make some choices around our book? Because, sometimes like what they did really well was like your love interest determines the story of the book. With something like Miss Parsons from Siren Decorum, where your relationship with her obviously changed the entire course of the story because you needed to hide that. Whereas something like in Queen Bee, your story was still centered around Kingsley, despite whether you were choosing to pursue them as a love interest or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely they put all this time and effort into visuals and making it all like very interactive and very very nice. But you might want to live up to the name of the app. If like that's probably people play choices so they can make choices and see the different routes, and that's what sort of gets people to replay so they can see the different routes of different love interests or something like that, which was definitely like a thing during like an older book such as I don't know, The Crown and the Flame, where the story does change depending on your love interest and how it goes. Whereas with, like I said, Queen Bee, the story is still the same thing, regardless of who you choose as a love interest. Because I did end up romancing the professor, mainly because it didn't really make sense to romance Zoe because she wasn't getting attention anyways. Personally, I'm still a hardcore fan for Poppy, but I don't know any Zoe players. I probably do, I just haven't talked to them about it. But I presume the ending for Queen Bee is still the same, where you and Ian are sort of, or are exposed because of your relationship with them, even if you are romancing Zoe. I think that's still like, I'm pretty sure that it'll still be the path that happens. So it's like choices are supposed to be choices for a reason. If they don't sort of live up to that, I feel like they could potentially be losing some interest.
Yeah, I totally agree that the name is choices. So then there should be, the choices should be there because I totally understand. Sometimes they're being deprived of choices. Like our choices don't matter as if like that. And I see, but they put out a blog post recently, regarding they just reiterating a statement they made last year. Around the time June when the whole this representation thing happened with the race and all those things are going on. So they said they made the promise back then, but even though they made the promise in June, a lot of books were under work. So laws of attraction, foreign affairs, they were so the representation was not there as much as they like to represent. But books that would be releasing later this year, they would be a lot better in terms of representation or equal gameplay game time for different love interests, different characters. So that would be interesting to see, like if they really live up to that statement or not.
I mean, yeah, definitely they should, because that's the whole idea of it. And obviously it makes sense because it takes a long time to make one of those books, and so obviously they might have made that statement back then. They were working on things, but it still might have taken a long time for them to get stuff out. So yeah, no, I think you would be able to see the results, around now, when you sort of see with like Slowbind, you've got all your different like customizable options. You could sort of see that the statement they previously made is sort of coming back to light again, because it's like, oh, so now they're doing it. But then obviously some of the stuff that was being released, it was a bit too late to try and edit it in order to get more representation in the story, whereas obviously now we can sort of see those changes from back then being shown.
Yeah, that would be super awesome. And we're talking about Queen Bee, you're right? It said it was good. One or two things here and there, it would have been like super awesome. And the tea specifically, I think you mentioned earlier, it was really awesome the way it started with the tea every chapter. And I hope when book two will be releasing around later this year, October or around that time, I hope we get to see the same pattern each chapter, starting with the tea.
Exactly, like having that sort of repetitive intro thing. It sort of it felt quite nice having that come over again, because you're like, right, I am playing Queen Bee now. Let's embody Queen Bee and sort of get our get our Queen Bee on, if you like, because that sort of, it really like set the whole essence and the sort of genre, I guess, or like the sort of vibe from the story. It really set it in straight, and so it really gets people in the mood to read more from that intro, because that intro tells you basically everything, and it sort of reminds you, okay, the story is pretty not intense, but it's quite, you can't see me, but I'm making some hand gestures, but it's quite like a interesting storyline, and just sort of very like different characters, and it's all quite colourful, if that would work as a way to describe it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That was really, and like the way they write, kisses the T at the end, and the addressing the newbie and other names, nicknames, giving people. That was really awesome. That was the wild part I liked about Queen Bee.
That was really great. Like, honestly, I can't. I mean, when they have like the list when you're going up the rankings, having all the different names on there, that was always really funny to read. Some of them, it was just hilarious at times. I also like what they did with Queen Bee when they put in the Jalen cameo, like in chapter 5 at the sort of sports event thing, when you could like as Diamond scene, but still you could, you had that cameo from Platinum, which was great. And obviously it would have been even more popular and more people would have spent their diamonds on it if it was Avery or LA, but obviously due to them being customizable, it would be a bit hard to sort of rake them in. I mean, maybe if we customize them again, but then obviously if someone hadn't played Platinum, saw the customizable, they might get carried away and think they were a love interest, which would then get more people confused.
Yeah, the cameos always get people excited. I totally see that. And it was, yeah, like I said, the wildness, it was there. It was really truly awesome. And for a lot of reasons. And yeah, the sports and all the things happen and how we take down each day a new challenge, the competition. I felt like I was again living in the America's Most Eligible. So it was a great book, and I'm looking forward to the book two's release because I hope it's going to add more drama since we need to find out who has our professor's pictures of the moment we shared in some place, I don't know. So
Okay.
who is blackmailing us? So that would be super interesting to see.
Yeah, regarding that, it would be great. It would be make such a twist if it was somebody we knew. However,
Mhm.
I really doubt that that would be the case because some of the characters, it wouldn't be Poppy because that's well, in using this as a sort of as a like a massive like reader and like a big fan of reading and sort of analyzing in terms of characters, they wouldn't make the villain be. They're probably going to give Poppy a redemption arc. You can sort of feel it because of like she's obviously, I mean, obviously the end of Queen Bee it would go against that idea, the whole scram in the fountain, but you could sort of see because of how she was treated that she isn't being treated fairly by her family, and then
Yeah.
therefore deserves. It feels like they're setting something up for her to get a redemption arc. So maybe she has something on somebody, which could suggest it was part of the her sorority. But I doubt that as well. I doubt they wouldn't use a side character, which nobody was expecting. They wouldn't make it a major main character like a love interest or Poppy. So the only other thing I can see is it wouldn't be the most shocking reveal, but it's just going to be a character we haven't met before.
Mm.
Because I think that's probably the way it's going to go down, which obviously will be slightly disappointing because it would be great if, I mean, not that I want it to be Zoe, but if it was someone that involved in the story who turns out to be against us, my God, that would make a very good story and it would be very interesting. Don't get me wrong, but it just doesn't feel like they do something like that because of it sort of feels like they're trying to avoid a situation as to what could have happened. I mean, obviously it's two very different scenarios, but if they killed off not Relay, Raphael, they sort of did that with a love interest, made people not want the love interest slash can access the love interest because they were dead. Let's say they did make it Zoe, that doesn't really make too. They're probably trying to be avoiding something like that, anyways. So I honestly think it's going to be quite underwhelming, that reveal, anyways. Considering, the story's left on that cliffhanger, but it's probably not going to be somebody we know. I have to reason myself with that because I have a couple of theories of who it could be, but then I don't believe them that they could be correct because in terms of a writing point of view, it would just be hard to make a character that would be a plot twist reveal that nobody expected. I mean, obviously they'd be able to predict it regardless, and I'm going on a rant here, but it just it doesn't. I don't think it's going to be as good as people are living it up to be.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And out of the characters we have, I don't think it's going to be Poppy again because, like you said, all the reasons. And I don't think I think we can see a good side of Poppy. Also, we can transform her because, like I said, the family drama. Like Poppy, all the things she does, Poppy thinks her father also does the same because the letters we from Art Nakamura, her biological father, to whom Poppy writes the letters. We see that. So I think Poppy's not the one. And also, out of the characters that are there, I don't. I don't think much of them have the potential or capability of being like the main dominant antagonist character like Poppy for an entire book. So I think I have to agree with you there that it could be someone pretty new, and I think they mentioned someone who Poppy destroyed or something happened to in that campus of Belvoir a long time ago, even before B Hughes. I think our main character arrives there. So I think just because now we have become the Queen Bee, they could be just after us because they think we have become Queen Bee, so we can just turn to Poppy. So just because someone hates Poppy, they can be after us or something. Well, no, but like you said, there are endless possibility how they, or how things are going to be turned out. So pretty excited for that. To find out what happens, I think it's even more excited sequel than Nanny Affair because it's even more cliffhanger it had at the ending.
Definitely, yeah. Because if they, you know, cliffhanger endings, if they have a solid closed ending, such as the Nanny Affair, getting a sequel is not going to be as much hyped. I mean, I guess you could sort of say the same for Ride or Die. It felt finished, but then also people still wanted to see more of those characters. But no, Queen Bee, if you leave it on that sort of cliffhanger there, of course they're going to make a sequel for it, and they're going to have to, live it up to the standards of that cliffhanger, because making a cliffhanger, it's good to get people to definitely read the sequel. It's just the sequel then has to be good to live up to their expectations of what will happen after that cliffhanger. So they might be taking their time with it in order to make it the best possible thing, in order to, not disappoint the player base like they have previously with sequels.
Yeah. And I was thinking, just a wild thought, that what if, I know Zoe is a love interest, but like you said, someone we knew that would be breaking our hearts, and that would be, people would be taking more interest in the book. So what if Zoe is the one who is doing this because she's jealous of our and our professor's relationship? Just, so I think if that turns out, then, just, it would be even crazier than book one.
It would be very interesting to see that sort of dynamic. But then it would almost feel as if then, well, you're giving Zoe more screen time, you're making her more of a love interest, which definitely makes sense. But then, I think it would sort of discourage players for wanting to, pursue Zoe as a love interest if she's this forceful on the main character. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to see that happen. It'd be very interesting to see more of Zoe, and how she was third wheeling, but she was jealous of us the entire time. That would be very interesting to see play out, and I'd be all for it. I'd love to see that happen, because I don't really care about the professor or Zoe that much anyways, because Poppy has my heart. But, with that, exactly, it would be very interesting to see how that would play out. And honestly, I'd be really interested to see how she feels about the whole relationship, and, how she feels about the relationship, but in reality, rather than how she's presenting it to us via third wheeling.
Yeah, exactly. That would be super awesome. And now, as you mentioned, Poppy, I think now Poppy, she can have a redemption arc or something, and maybe, who knows, she can become a love interest. But I think it would be really hard for Poppy to become a love interest, because there's a long line. So maybe a fling, perhaps, because Veronica and Chloe, they're there. And Carter, and I think another guy from the frat boys. I can't remember his name, but he was really like the one who helped our main character a lot. So there's a lot going on in there. But yeah, you're right. It would be super dramatic if Zoe turns out to be something like that. But yeah, well, now since we get to choose between them at the end for the bonus scene, it's kind of hard to see. But if they do that, that'd be like super awesome. I mean,
I mean, it's
interesting,
more
like dramatic. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's more likely they're going to give Poppy a redemption arc than Aaron, which is, God, Aaron and the whole redemption arc idea still haunts me every day, because I'm like, but they could do it, and then there's one half of my brain which, is very hopeful for an arc for him, but then also the other half of me knows he's not getting a redemption arc, Hazel. Do not even start on that, But yeah, redemption arcs are really great for choices, because, they definitely rack in lots of attention, and obviously if they have a slightly meaner character and then make them a nicer character, or even a love interest, it definitely makes the whole story and relationship between the two characters much more interesting to see. And people were more likely to spend diamonds just to see how that relationship would play out, and I'd be all for that, to see maybe some of the sorority, but Poppy specifically, just because of her relationship with the main character, even in a fling. I mean, they've done it before, so I don't see why they shouldn't do it again and try to make the villain a likable character who is sort of on our side, who is sort of a semi love interest. I'd be very interested to see what they could do with that.
Yeah, yeah, that would be super awesome. Yeah, this book, it is definitely, we would have to figure that out in terms of like how this where we stand in terms of relationships, like I said, because this seems to be an endless possibility, like what could happen, and how things can turn out in terms of with the, yeah, the and how things go on.
Definitely.
So, one last opinion I would like to know from you, that you played My to First Loves, right?
Pardon?
My to First Loves, MTFL.
I think I'm like 50 chapters in, but yeah, I've played quite a lot of it, I think. So,
Yeah. So how did you like it so far?
from what I've read, it's quite interesting. I know Ava does become a love interest later, but it's very clear that they were quite hesitant to do so. As of now, I'm picking Noah over Mason just because he just seems more interesting than Mason, because Mason just sort of feels a bit, it's just another childhood best friend character, whereas Noah's actually got some sort of depth to him. As of now, Mason might be slightly more interesting later. I don't know, but yeah, it's just sort of, in terms of the story, it's sort of, I like the whole idea of a daily release, except obviously if you're like me, who fell out of Love of Choices about, like, not recently, but when it was being released, now I have to catch up on about maybe a good 50 chapters. So it's like, it's quite daunting to try and get through them, but I mean, I have to at some point, but it's just, yeah, because obviously the whole idea of a daily release is very good when it's being released, but I think after it's been fully released, it's got around 100 chapters or something like that for My Two First Loves, I think, when it's been like finished. And obviously it's very good whilst you're playing it, because you've got like maybe 5-10 minutes to play through it, done, you've got it. And then the thing is, the whole idea of key investments, playing for 5 minutes, having like a very, because I feel that with My Two First Loves they tried to have a cliffhanger at the end of every chapter, which sort of felt a bit messed up. They put it in every story, every chapter ended with another plot twist, and then they'd sort that plot twist up in like the first 10 dialogues of the next chapter, and then they were setting up for another plot twist at the end, which wasn't too great of an idea. But honestly, after the book's been finished, I honestly think they should compress the book into maybe like 20 chapters. I think that would have gone down well if they just made it so that all those small things, they could compile it together, make it flow. Obviously it's a bit more work, but it's putting, I think, people who might have started playing Choices more recently, putting them off from playing Mighty First Love, because they're like, okay, just finished, I don't know, Across the Void, 21 chapters, exciting. Finished playing Perfect Match, 16 chapters, cool. What's this book, Mighty First Loves? Oh my god, it's got 100 chapters. It doesn't. It would be quite a shock for anyone who wasn't playing it on the daily release, like me.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I liked the book because at that time it was like still, the pandemic situation. So I had nothing to do. I think around August last year it released, and I played every day. And when I couldn't play for some work, so there would be 4 chapters, 5 minutes. So just key was the problem, just play through, and just one diamond scenes. I like that, and I totally agree with that. If someone new comes in, then it's just a, it's just a huge mountain, like 100 chapters. And if I see a book with 100 chapters, it would definitely turn me off at the exact moment, because who would like to do it for 100 chapters, and you don't have unlimited keys, unlimited diamonds, so it would take you like forever to complete it.
Exactly, and I think, yeah, like, unless you had the VIP, with having those, like, I don't know if the key waiting times have changed since I last played, but when I had last played, 2 hours for a key for a 5-minute chapter, that would take a lot of time to, if
I
you were
think
to
3 hours.
it's changed now.
No, I think it was 3 hours forever. No, I
For me
think
it
it's
was
three.
2. I don't know if that's like, I don't know if that's like a, I don't know. For me, it was always 2. Maybe I've just forgotten, but I could swear it was 2. But I have no idea. I've honestly not played Choice in such a long time, I cannot remember. But definitely, like, Mighty First Loves, from where I think if you have such a long book like that, the best possible thing to do is put in, like, some. It doesn't even have to be that well done. As long as they sort of compress the chapters in together, it would go a lot better, I think, because it would be really putting people off. Like, you'd have to love the story so much in order to be able to grind through those 100 chapters. It would take you so long, and then it would have to be like your favorite book if you wanted to play through it. You couldn't do it any other way. I think that's definitely. I remember something with My Two First Loves. I pointed it out to Kyle, and I remember him mentioning it in an episode. Is they did actually, the storyline changed depending on the race you chose for your character, which was definitely an interesting thing to see. And obviously, it made the story feel a lot more realistic, which made the story, better because you could relate to it. I mean, I couldn't really relate to the whole race dynamic, but for other players, they might have been able to sort of see that and sort of showing the injustices in the world and how people should be and how people are treated and how the people are being treated is, or at least how they were in the story with like a different race, is not okay. So I really enjoyed how they were shedding a light onto that and not shying away from it. I think
Yeah, there's
also, oh
yeah,
sorry,
yeah, no, go on.
I think at the beginning of chapters like that, I think they also did it with Open Heart. They put disclaimers up on certain scenes which might contain some of those slightly more like realistic or more things that you would see in our lives, things that we would be more likely to see. They sort of put a warning about that, and if you want to skip it, you can, which I think was honestly the right choice to do, and it was good to see that. I played through them just because I wanted to see as much content as I could, but then I do not regret it. I mean, obviously some of the scenes are slightly more disturbing, but the sad fact is some of the stuff that was happening in it is entirely accurate to what would be happening in a modern day scenario.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think there was this, with Noah when the police arrest him. There's this police brutality depiction there is, and when Mason is there watching this, so yeah, so they do give us this option that you can skip it or not. So for my case, as I chose the white Noah, so I didn't find it much, but later, like you said, I think a blog post or something said like depending on if you choose the black one version of Noah, then you can see like something more, the police brutality. So that was really interesting because I think, and it's really hard now to play back because, like you said, 100 chapters. So, replay would be really hard. But yeah, it was a great story in terms of it also said at first that it's about a young girl. About how she navigates her sexuality and her like relationships and her teenage time. So that was it's a really good story. And about like I personally liked the boy next door since I think the music they played whenever the boy next door and our main character get together, that was really touching. And with that music I was ready to spend time with him, and the sort of best friend, from the childhood. And so, and also Mason, it was just clicked from the very first. And so I was in love with this character Mason and MC. I think they're the for me one of the best things and choices. I really like them together. So, and also Noah and Ava also, and all the characters, the antagonists. It was really a good book. And I personally felt like, at the time I watched the trailer of this movie, To All the Boys I've Loved Before, so I felt like it was kind of similar to that in terms of how MC was going back and forth between the two boys for a long time.
Oh god, I see the resemblance between those two now. Oh god, I don't know whether to love you or to hate you for putting that image in my head now, but no, I can definitely see it. Crikey, that's quite no, that makes a lot of sense. I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's definitely tried something new, and yeah, it was a great book. And also, I think you've probably seen this. You're till chapter 50, I think. So main character's father. I think this is great because how main character's father starts off, and how we find how his character develops throughout the scene. So we see the character development of other people, but as a father, how he learns also with his daughter, and how he grows up, develops, and from a resisting father who has just lost his wife, and who doesn't know about much about the parenting, or who's just scrambling down under pressure, putting work before her daughters, and suddenly how at the end he changes slowly, learns and develops, and starts supporting his daughters, starts being there for them as a mom and dad both. So that I really like because the my two first love. So I think besides just the love drama, the thing, also it points out a lot of things, and that father thing I mostly like that.
Yeah, I think the story, it's a very good story, and it's definitely quite a realistic one as well. And it's another high school story which can either be perceived in two ways, like either the first way, oh, it's another high school story, or number two, with the more like the one which I felt is like, oh, I can sort of see myself in some of these situations, which is definitely good. You can sort of see that, and then also, you know, it just feels like it could be quite relatable to certain people with like themes inside the story. So honestly, as a whole, and with the whole family dynamic as well, obviously I feel like sometimes the whole romance part of it was quite over dramatized, or at least from what I've read. You know, where I am right now, I feel like Noah and Mason kind of like hate each other because something happened. I don't know. They don't really like each other at all from what I've seen. But no, I feel like apart from like sometimes them over dramatizing some of the love aspects, it's a very good book overall. And yeah, I think it's very good. And honestly, I think it should be greater appreciated than how it is. I think the only thing that's really stopping it from being as popular is, like I said before, the whole chapter situation. You know, if they were to compress them, I think it would, you know, definitely get the amount of attention it needs.
Yep, I totally agree with that. It should be getting more, attention, and I can't, it's just, I think it is what it is, because in terms of, if you have played it when it was being released, like you did, you would see how it was worth it every chapter, and you think you don't need to wait 1 week for it, and you can read it every day for 5 minutes, and it would be in the back of your mind if you're too much invested in this. So that was that, and also the storyline. But again, if you go new to choices, then well, it's kind of hard to navigate through the story, because 100 chapters, that's a liability sometimes. So yeah, but overall, like I said, it's a great story, like, for time. And also, I think even 100 chapters for diamond mining, it's a great book. If you don't have VIP after 100 chapters, you'd be having to 300 diamonds. So that's something.
Yeah, it's definitely good for mining. Like, I definitely see what you mean there. Like, if anything, yeah, the mining should be good for it, because it's also short as well, so you can sort of get through them quite easily. It's just the problem is you have to wait for the keys in order to get them, and sometimes I say that I'm going to leave the story there and I'm going to pick it up later when I have enough diamonds to make a certain choice, when in reality, when I go away, then I spend the diamonds on something else. And the whole idea is that I then go to play different chapters, and then I almost forget about the book that I was mining in order to get some stuff out of it.
Oh, well, one good news for you, since you haven't returned back to Choices since December, that Choices have now added a lot of new ways to earn diamonds. So they have this, play for 15 days or some days and get 15 diamonds, complete one book. So you can just complete a book with 6 chapters, like The Haunting of Bearded Manor, and you can get 15 diamonds. Then play for 3 days, then get more 6 diamonds. Complete 3 chapters, get 6 diamonds, or make 3 premium choices, get some diamonds, or watch up to 3 ads. So they have a lot of new opportunity now. I think it's a move in the right direction.
That's good. I think I've also heard something about them adding like more languages, like they've added Spanish for the Royal Romance or something like that. Is that true? Or?
Yeah. So that, I think I saw it back in December, January. Like, they had only just one book, The Royal Romance, and I don't know Spanish, so it was something, I don't know, I can't forgot even. So and then they have completed that, and now they are releasing, I think, the Bloodbound book, and they have expanded the library in Spanish, and they said they will be looking forward to expand like some other languages like French or something. So wow, that'd be super awesome.
Mm-hmm. Well, that sounds great to yeah, because obviously some people would be restricted because of language. They might know English a bit, but then obviously if it's put in their own native language, that would be definitely great. Because I feel like in terms of interactive story apps, I mean, obviously I've only looked for ones in English, but I feel like the more likely thing to happen is there's a lot of English ones and probably not enough French ones or German ones. If I think that definitely, if they have that option for different languages, I think it's definitely a smart idea for them. It might not give them the most amount of views, because obviously if they sort of target specific areas like Germany, let's say they speak German, and if they add it in German, like, I mean, it's still quite a largely spoken language, but it's not like it's a massive thing. It's not like it's spoken in like big countries. It's mainly spoken well in Germany, and then I don't know, Austria and stuff like that. You know, it's spoken in like specific places by specific people. It might not give them the most amount of views, but definitely do a lot for their reputation as an interactive story app, giving everyone the option to do what you like.
Yeah, yeah. So like, mainly it's based in. I think the choices. It's like most of the app source is based in America. So you get American, this writing and scenes there. And some books like A Very Scandalous Proposal. So they are set in England, but that's it. So they don't much include like Australian or any other places. And now, yeah. So in Spanish, yeah. So just I think after English and even besides English, like Spanish, there's a big vast popularity, like the whole South America. I think pretty much, I think if I did my geography classes right, so that's Spanish, and then Spain is there, and then like Spanish and French, they're dominating. So yeah, so they are targeting the right group.
They're definitely doing that rightly, yeah. And obviously, for some slightly more obscure language, it might take longer. But I think it would be great to see it. I'd be very happy to see some of it. Obviously, it depends whether I know the language. Obviously, and let's say they added in French. I don't speak French myself, but it's like it's very nice to know that that's available for people who might be better with French than in English. And I myself, I speak Spanish as well, but obviously I still know English better than Spanish, as otherwise I'd be speaking Spanish on like a regular basis rather than English. But
Yeah.
definitely, it sounds it's a smart idea to have those different ideas, because I think it would do a lot for their reputation as well. Being like, oh, it's an interactive story app. Oh yes, they can choose what language they want to play in. So that it's very like open for an entirely new player base, and hopefully they can rack in some new people with these new languages.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like French and Spanish, including that. Yeah, but there's just a variety because yeah, so it would be fun for a lot of people to play in the native language because they just like you said. So they'll be like, wow, let's see how it plays out in that because sometimes if you just want to feel the whole experience, like if you're just reading it in English, but in your daily life, if you go to some places and you just don't use that language and use just completely different language, then the experience is not that much. You can't relate much because it's just something. So that'd be more interactive. Like wow, so this could be. So this is just feels more real for some folks.
Definitely, I agree with that. And honestly, I think I mean, I'm just reiterating points I've made, but it would go so much better. It would do like the company so much good for doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a really hard work to like translate all the books in different languages. And also translation, there are like certain things and stuff. So definitely, like the literary translation they need to do instead of like literal translation, so that they're doing a good job so far, I guess. Because I haven't heard from a lot of people in terms of like how the Spanish section is doing. Because but I hope like, and I don't read Spanish, so I can't really say that how it's going. But well, Charles did give a feedback or somewhere that there was some problem with like how the stories were translated. I don't remember if Choices said that or someone said that, but yeah, we'll be eagerly waiting for some others to come. Some other languages there, like you said. Yeah.
Definitely, that would definitely do like a lot of good for. Yeah, obviously I speak English, but knowing that the other languages are there, that would definitely be nice to know. That so I could also, because most of my family is Spanish, so I can sort of rack in more people that I know who know Spanish better than English to sort of join us. I say this like it's some sort of cult, but join the Choices fandom because it's sort of got that different language options. I know a couple of people in the fandom as well who speak Spanish as well. So it's such as I don't know, We Are the Most Eligible. She I think she's based in like South America, so so that works out quite well for her because obviously she would know Spanish better than English. And then She's left the fandom now, but Madga, she also spoke Spanish fluently, much better than English. But I think she still does play choices. So having that sort of different way for people who may have played choices in English, even though they spoke a different language, I think it's still good that they have it there.
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely. But some like if you're just looking forward to like something in other languages, it's just going to be like some scenes also that sometimes really would make sense in English. So it's a hard work. So kudos to choices that they're taking it up.
It's good that they're definitely trying to do that. Yeah, so I think definitely after this I'm going to try and return to choices. So is there anything you have to like recommend to me to try out since I've last been on?
Okay, some new books. So did you play It Lives completely? I think you said something about It Lives.
So I played like on live streams and Instagram. I was playing through It Lives. I'm still only on the first one, but that's probably something I'll have to return to. I believe I think I've seen you because I have notifications on for your YouTube channel. Even though I can't really understand half of them because it's books I haven't read. But you are like doing something with a sequel now for like with different characters as like a project.
Oh no, no, that's yeah. So that's It Lives project. Like some fans came out from different parts of the world. Three I know from Greece, Indonesia, and one from United States. So the one from Greece, she has done most of the writing, and they're coming up with It Lives. It Lives Within. They have named it, and it's on Tumblr. So they're just releasing new characters. One love interest they have released so far. So they'll be releasing this like outside a fan project. Yeah, so they'll be giving a third book, a sequel, and it'll be like how you play in choices the same way. So it's a fan book, but it'll be completely like an interactive game.
That sounds really cool. I'd be really interested to see how they do that. Like, also, I'd like to see something. I mean, I did say I like made an episode about that blog post when they were talking about sequels. I made an episode about it, decided to scrap it just because my mic was being weird in it. But I was saying that I did have plans that I wanted to write something to do with Ride or Die because I not to compliment myself or anything, but I do see myself as quite good with English in terms of writing. So like I definitely want to try and do something with Ride or Die. And it's good to know that other people are also on the same sort of train of thought and doing things. I remember also in July with a couple of other people we started making a start on what was an idea for Distant Shores Book 2 could have been. We never really pursued it, but it's good to know that other people are also in agreement and would be there to help you out.
Yeah, wow. Distant Shores book two sounds fun because yeah, I think even book one also. I'm not even asking for book two from choices at that time. I was asking for even just book one, only like what they did with Nanny Affair. If they had given the book one even three or four more chapters, expanded the story, I think there were holes in Edward's storyline, the Admiral and Edward's. Why there, the relationship between them and what went in the past. We don't know much about that with Charlie. We don't know a lot. We don't know that with Charlie's mom. So it's all just mystery. So I think if they had done something with that, expanding the book one even, it would have been satisfying still. But it's just even incomplete book one, I would say at that point.
Definitely, I agree with that. I mean, if they just like given us some sort of closure with it, then it would have gone down a lot better. But yeah, suggestions. Is there anything you think I should try and pick up?
Oh yeah, yeah. So I totally went into different.
It's
And
all
yeah,
right.
yeah, so you definitely should start. I don't know if you said Foreign Affairs. That's a good, but this new book, Laws of Attraction, it's just definitely good. It's turning out, and currently it's on hiatus, so I think you're loving it. And since you left, not many books released in choices even. So it was just Foreign Affairs and other VIP books. So,
Mhm.
but I would definitely suggest you from old books that you read if you have the old books like Heist of Monaco. You've read that?
No, that's one of the one things that people have always been telling me to read, and I say that I will. It's just, I want to make my crew the best it could possibly be, and then I go off to mine Diamond State, recruit the best possible
No, yeah.
people.
So there's one caveat. Don't play that book if you don't have enough diamonds, because yeah, if you don't make your crew, you'd be giving them a sad ending that you don't want. So yeah, go for that when you have a lot of diamonds.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So if you don't have VIP, then end you. Laws of Attraction, it's turning out pretty well. And Foreign Affairs, you can end it if you have started it. And Open Heart Book 3 is there also.
Of
It's
course.
like a good nostalgic book from book one. Let's see what else. Not any new books since you left in December. I think nothing new, just that. But
Oh god, the
yeah,
Nanny Fair book 2 came out recently, didn't it? What are you thinking of that?
Nanny Affair book two. I think it's pretty much in book one. Personally, I think it's just again, but the book one where we saw the characters, so just getting to see them, it seems really interesting, and it's just with the new nanny coming in. Like they said at first, when they mentioned new nanny back in December, I thought maybe they would be trying to like be with Sam or something and get between a relationship, but I think it's going the opposite way now. And with the dramas going on so far, it's just it's I would say it's again they're just pushing with Sam and M's relationship, more intimate scenes. But it's just I think I hopefully it's just a warm up episodes going on so far, chapters. But I hope the real drama starts from chapter three. But yeah, moderate pace. It's not like it's a sky high start for this, but yeah, a moderate pace it has so far. We'll see how it unfolds.
But that's that. Yeah, okay. From what you said, it sounds interesting. Yeah. So another one of my unpopular opinions that I've had is I was actually quite a heavy fan of Baby Bump Book 1, and I
Hmm.
sort of I fin I and I like I've played some of Book 2 but not very much, like chapter 2 of it. Is it worth finishing, or is it sort of just
Yeah. But Babe and Book 2, I specifically till chapter 14, I really liked it because, it's just, I played this Big Sky Country book and there's music also that plays in the background and the scenes, the small town vibe. So it reminds me of that book. So it just brings back nostalgia. So that's why I kept playing this book. And, like the small town drama, Mayor and Clint, they're really the Covington, the good love interest, I would say. And as I chose Myra, I think it was really awesome there too, like her personality, and on the other hand, the dramas that go down and how our main character, being a pregnant mom, just helps, and she is she a lot of people are relying on. Her, so how she's handling the stress, so it was really awesome. But and also the election thing with Craig and how like cheating and everything was going on. So but I think till chapter 14, when the babies we finally they come, it was really good. But I think after what they do with lots of marriage takes place, that was really good. But then our main characters marriage happens, so I would say it's worth it. But I think at the end, just I personally felt like it kind of went out of rails because and it definitely happened after the hiatus. So after chapter 14, it went into hiatus, and since it came back, it was kind of off to me because I was kind of not able to add it up. But yeah, of course, it's worth reading if you are into specifically small town things. So it's just worth it.
that sounds great. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, I forgot about Booyum. It existed because it's been a long time. It was gone, and yeah.
Yeah. I just remember like it was one of the first books. Like I've been playing for a while, as I sort of said, but I was not really a big fan of replaying books. But for some reason, like Ride or Die, I've replayed several times because I was thinking, well, if there is a sequel, I want to make sure that I've made the best possible book one, and then obviously now there isn't. But you know, it was a very rare occasion I'd replay a book, and for some reason, something about Baby One was hilarious for me to replay. I think it was just the storyline was so like it wasn't exactly like a bad storyline, but it was just so fun. If that
Yeah.
makes sense, like it was so it felt so like stereotypical, very quite forced as well. But then, so
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
just hilarious to try and envision how this
Yeah.
would play out if it was in a real life scenario. Um, and yeah, yeah, it's something I don't know what it was about it. And obviously, people are like, Hazel, you're very strange. You dislike Endless Summer, but you like Baby Bump. What the hell is wrong with you? And I'm like, I do not know. Because it's just stuff like that that's just really odd, but it's just hilarious when you try to envision it.
Yeah, and if you like that, I would definitely recommend reading book two because it has even more fun component. Even I don't know if you have played so far, but the what was it called? The baby birth classes or something. You
Oh,
would die. You would die of laughing. I mean, I don't know in what kind of classes the whole family goes there, and the drama there, just goes down. I mean, it was becoming like a pub instead of a birth class. It was like a pub, like where people were just fighting at one point. So it would be super awesome. You'll be dying of laughing if you liked it. But book two it has more fun, definitely.
no, I'm also realizing, yeah, book one, it was also more interesting to me because it was obviously the main character was trying to hide the pregnancy to begin with. And if there is a story where there is like they're trying to hide something, I'm always very hyped to see, all right, when are they going to let it slip? And, something like that. That's always, like, those type of stories have always been interesting to me, even if the plot of Baby Bump is slightly questionable, but it's still quite, because they have something that they're hiding and you want to know how the characters are going to react to that reveal. It's an interesting thing to see, and it's stories like that I tend to enjoy, even if the storyline's a bit weird. I'm just curious to know, how do they try to explain that a doctor just casually missed a child in the ultrasound? Because I I still don't understand how that's possible.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, a lot of things are there. How it went down. It's just like if you said read it in a way, you'd like find it rather a little silly and how things went down, and yeah, it's like more of a comedy.
Yeah, it's definitely like you've got obviously some darker books such as Perfect Match, darker books, slightly more serious plots such as Perfect Match, and then when you read something like Baby Bump, it's actually surprisingly funny to read through. But yeah, no, I'll get back to you when I finish that.
Yeah, definitely. And another suggestion, if you haven't already read it, Veils of Secrets. Have you read it?
Oh, believe me, the amount of times Kyle has asked me to read it, and I'm like, yes, I will eventually. Still vibing at chapter 4 right now. But the thing is if there's a story like Veil of Secrets where it requires you to go after clues, it's something that I feel like I need to invest diamonds into. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, diamonds is the problem. But it's so
I know
mind
it's very
blowing.
good. Like, I've heard so many good things about it. I know I should really pick it up again, but yeah, I feel like today, 27th of June, where Hazel is returning to Choices. So this is going to be really great.
All right, that's good, and I hope to listen about about the books you read. I would definitely like to hear about your opinion. What do you like it? I mean,
Yeah.
how do you like it?
I think also when because I don't really know why I sort of stopped making podcast episodes for a bit, but since I'm going to get back into it now, I think there's definitely going to be more content coming out. So I guess stay tuned for that.
Yeah, definitely. I'll be have to listen to your opinions about some of the book that you're going to read. Maybe Veil of Secrets. Wow, I'll be really excited for that. And of course, Baby Bump. What do you think about Baby Bump?
That'd be great. And then I think I also need to finish Endless Summer because that's another story which people have often told me, Hazel, you're just really strange for not being able to figure it out. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, okay. I know I get it's a very good story, and I agree with that. It's a great story, except it's just very frustrating when you try to play without any sort of tutorial, and it's like when you have to try and actually put clues together rather than just tapping mindlessly. Um, so you actually need to remember stuff, and it's like I remember distinctly getting really mad at it because it was like, oh, you need to type in the word anchor to conduct the electricity. I'm like, since when was there an anchor? It's just very obscure things that you need to pay so much attention. And personally, I do not have the attention span or the memory to remember half the things that go on in it. So yeah, the problem is there's some series that I haven't read in such a long time. I might have to replay them because I've probably forgotten half of them. I've had a lot about there's this one story with I think there's a fling with a firefighter. I don't know which stories that might be, but is that do you know which one that is? Because I've heard so much about it, and it's I feel like
The female Robin model from the Nanny Affairs. Her name is Lena Reyes, and she's also a flame. And we get two one night stand scenes with her, and then with this firefighter
guy, I think his name was Tyler.
looks even better than all the allies in recent books because there's just one no strings attached to him.
That's great. No, that's great that they're trying to add more to that, and I'd be very excited to see that. Great.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and lots of new books to try. And welcome back to Choices.
Honestly, I feel like I really should start, getting back into it. So, God, there's a lot for me to catch up on now. So, this is going to be great.
Yeah, I mean, you're back at the right time. Look, the Nanny Affairs out there, and a lot of new books are coming, Queen Bee and stuff, and catch up on the Laws of Attraction when it's still in hiatus.
You're gonna have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I should be able to catch up because I think I've actually picked quite a good time to come back because some books are on hiatus, so I can sort of catch up and get there. Honestly, I might as well just have to get VIP in order to catch up. Also, I do not have the strength to forget to cancel it because I did that once when I was still playing back in December. I had VIP, forgot to cancel it back in January, and I was like, oh God, no, because for maybe 2 months, no. I'd forgotten to cancel it, and
also a very scandalous proposal.
Yeah.
So if you haven't played it in VIP section, interesting plot. So and amazing story.
Yeah. Okay. I'm excited to see it.
Mm-hmm. AVSP. It's a good book.
It should be fun. Oh God, this is ominous now. I've just got about maybe. Yeah, it's gonna be worth it. I think because I think it's just gonna be a great time to catch up.
Yeah, all memories.
Yeah, exactly. Because it's just been such a long time since I haven't touched any other things either.
You're gonna love the music.
Oh God, the music! So yeah, no, I'm having flashbacks to me making the the soundtrack episodes as well. Oh God, that's going to be great. Being able to sort of point them out again. It's just going to be a lot of fun to sort of catch up on it. And I haven't really touched any other sort of interactive story apps since I last left. I've been logging into Lovelink maybe once every 3 days just to keep my matches up. But apart from that, I haven't really touched it. So. This would be interesting to see. I'm quite excited.
Yeah, definitely. It'd be definitely exciting. Good luck with navigating New Choices books and more stories and background scenes and musics.
Yeah. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Thanks for wishing me luck.
Yeah. And on my side, that's all I had in my list. Do you have anything to add?
Honestly, I don't think so. I think you've basically summed up everything to do with Queen Bee and a lot else as well. So yeah, I think we've definitely covered a lot.
Yep. The focus was Queen Bee, and it's a conversation. It's they basically pour water on the ground, so it doesn't flow in one direction. It just goes everywhere. Then just merges somewhere. So it was like that.
Still, it's good that we managed to, still I think the things that we covered were not exactly relevant, but still important things that we spoke about. So yeah, that was really fun. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, and thank you for coming. It has been a really great, enjoyable 2 hours, and that I hijacked from your evening there, so or afternoon, depending on your time zone.
Yeah, it's afternoon. It's 4 p.m. now. So.
Yep. Thanks for coming, and I really appreciated it.
Yeah, no, it's been fun. Great. Yep. I'll also in my next episode that I make, I will reference to this and link them to you. So that'll be great. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Yep, and for more of you, you can go on to the Apple Podcast, search for The Simp Show, and I'll be linking that in the comment section below. And also, I really like the work you put on YouTube, The Simp Show channel, the stories, I think, the fanfic, I think, from Wattpads, I believe, and lots of great stories. And it's really, and the way you read it also, it's a really good, I really like that. Props to that. Thank you for
that. You like it. Great.
Yeah,
Cool.
and we definitely would like more stories.
Yeah, there's just been a slight problem with my channel. Like I've tried uploading videos and it's taken like days to upload one video and then I'm told that there's been an error uploading it. So I'm trying to figure out ways to do it. That's why I've not uploaded in such a long
Technicality
time.
stuff.
Yeah, technical difficulties basically. I'm trying to get around it, but it might be some time, who knows. But
Yeah.
yeah, hopefully we get somewhere soon.
Yeah, but I absolutely love the stories, and I'll also be linking the stories link, and they're just super awesome. And the way you read it, also, it's just it's also a special talent because it just I like I said, I heard the Christmas one, and it was like so wow. I was like, yeah, it just feel like the things happening, and if you just listening and like ear pod and closing your eyes, it's just a super awesome interactive thing.
British accents are great for reading those, so I'm using it to my advantage. So, oh god, it's great.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Great.
that's.
So yeah, once again, thanks for having me.
Yep. Thanks for coming, and looking forward to listening from you about the books you read next. I will be
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
I'm excited to get started. I probably will do that now. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Have a nice afternoon, nice evening, and well, it's Sunday, so I wish you a great week ahead, full of
You
choices.
too. Okay. Bye.
Bye.